Hi, this is Jennifer with Make My Heart Smile, and I would love for you to crochet along with me today to learn the popcorn stitch and the bobble stitch. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Check out my other lessons and tutorials on my channel because if you're a returning subscriber, you know that this is just part of a series of crochet lessons. And we have now moved on to intermediate level stitches, and these are considered intermediate level stitches. So if you are not familiar with the basics of crochet, I would recommend going back and watching those so that you are familiar with the basics before learning this intermediate level stitch. Instructions will always be in the description below along with timestamps. Today's lesson is focusing on the popcorn and the bobble stitch. Now, in my lesson 9A and 9B, I went over the puff stitch and the cluster stitch in teaching you how to make a granny square, a classic one and a sunburst one. So go back and watch those if you are more interested in the puff stitch or the cluster stitch. These four, the puff, the cluster, the popcorn, and the bobble, often get confused. They're similar in a lot of ways, but very different. So yeah, go back and look at lesson 9A and 9B on my channel if you're interested in those. But these stitches are really chunky and one of my favorites to do, but there are some differences. So I'm going to show you that today because they often get confused and even I have to kind of like remind myself of the difference. Today I'm not going to be really showing you a project. We're just going to be looking at the two stitches and how to form these two stitches. So the materials you'll need are the usual. I use my 6mm crochet hook along with yarn bee, beginner bee, tube-like yarn for beginner yarn. I've always been using those in my tutorials to show you, and scissors and a stitch marker, of course. The abbreviations for these stitches, as you know, I like to show you that. So if you see these in crochet patterns, then you will know BO is the bobble stitch and PC is the popcorn stitch abbreviation. So that's just really helpful information. And let's get into it. Let's look at what is the difference and how do we make these two different stitches. So I'm going to put my bobble stitch to the side for a moment, and so that we can really just focus on the popcorn stitch. Now, as you can see, I'm just going to be doing a demo, just a sampler or a swatch for you today. And obviously, I've already done a few rows and I've been experimenting. I'm just trying to get some yarn here, so I'm not struggling with that. And I've already been experimenting just to show you some different things with it. So you know I like to give you all the details, a thorough knowledge of the stitch that I teach you. This stitch can be used for so many different things. I know I'm not showing you a quick small little project today, but I have used these to make pillow covers. I mean, I'm doing row after row here, so they're pretty dense. They're pretty close together, but these kind of really thick, chunky stitches often make a great border on a project, like a blanket. They work in rows really well for like a hat, like a winter hat. Pillow covers are also great too. You make one flat panel and then you make another one and then you seam it together. You stuff the pillow or put a pillow insert in and then make a button enclosure. So just a lot of different things you can do with this, this stitch. So let's look at the popcorn stitch. Now for my sampler, I started with 21 chains and then I put here just one double crochet in between each one. And as you can see, this row was done with, and of course I'll show you in a minute, but I just wanted to let you look at this for a minute. I put 5 double crochets into the popcorn stitch, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But so this is with 5, and then 1 double crochet in between each one. And as you can see, they're pretty close together. and pretty tall. And then this row I decided to change things up, and I only did 4 double crochets. Show you like a profile here. I only need four double crochets into to make the stitch, the popcorn stitch, and as you can see, it's just not quite as chunky. And I put, again, just 1 double crochet in between. And so that gave a little bit of a different look because I wanted them to be separated a little bit more. And then this third row, which I'm going to show you now, I really decided I wanted to separate them a little bit more. So I've got 2, as you can see, 2 double crochets in between each popcorn stitch. Now, why is it called the popcorn stitch? Because I think it looks like a puffed kernel of popcorn. It's got lots of little bumps all over. And I'll show you here just real quick that the bobble stitch, and you'll see when we form this, is more of a gathered stitch. And so you can kind of see the bars a little bit more of the double crochets we put into it. But the popcorn is just, she's just chunky. She's just bumpy and large. And this is the wrong side. So this is what the wrong side looks like. And you can kind of get your finger in there, but you'll see with the bobble that the bobble's formed a little bit different. So popcorn stitches are formed on the right side. So as we're moving back across the row, it will be formed in front of you, facing you, the right side of your work. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to form the popcorn stitch now that we've looked at the texture. And I would start your row, of course, with a chain of 2 and then 2 double crochets. So if you've just started, I would do, I think 20, 21 is just a good, this is just a good size sampler for me, but a chain row, and then if you really want a good foundation row, maybe some single crochets, just to have some substance to it as you start. And then a chain of 2, and then 2 double crochets if you want more space in between your bobbles. And for learning, I would recommend that just so you can kind of see, but not necessary. You do need to have some kind of space though. I would put at least 1 double crochet in. So my 2 double crochets, a popcorn, 2 double crochets, a popcorn, and so on. So I've done my 2 double crochets, and now this is how you do the popcorn. So it is worked with double crochets. So as you know, we yarn over to start a double crochet, and I'm going to move or insert my hook under the V, the full V of my next stitch. Pull that up, and you're going to complete that double crochet. And into the same stitch now, we're going to do 4 more double crochets for a total of 5. So that's 2 double crochets into the same stitch, 3, 4, 5. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, but really fun. So as you can see, we have 1, the one I just completed, double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, then I had my 2 double crochets for my spacing. So never mind those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the one I just made. You're going to take your hook off, or remove the loop, the working loop off of your hook, and you're going to go back to that 5th one from your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one right here, we're going to insert our hook underneath the V. Then you're going to take your loop, you're going to put it back on your hook, tighten it because you don't want it coming off. And then this is going to gather. We're going to do a slip stitch, and this is going to gather all of those double crochets together. Slip stitch. Now, With a puff stitch, you probably would like chain 1 to close that. And that's what I'm really used to doing, but that's not how you do it with the popcorn stitch. You're going to go into your next stitch right away and do another double crochet. Again, I'm doing a spacing of 2. You can do 1 or 2, depending on how far apart you want your popcorn stitches to be. There's 1 for me. I'm going to do 1 more. I'm just going into the next stitch to make those 2 double crochets. Okay, so that slip stitch at the top gathered all of those 5 double crochets together and just made the chunkiest little popcorn stitch you've ever seen. And this tube yarn is pretty stretchy too. And you know, it really lets you see the texture really, really well. So I'm going to show you that again. So for the popcorn stitch, we yarn over, because we're doing double crochets. We're going to put 5. 5 is the standard. Again, I showed you a row of 4, but 5 is the standard. So that's 2 double crochets into the same stitch. I'm going to do 3 more. So this stitch would be really fun practice with double crochets too. Of course, you need to be really familiar with double crochets in order to do it. 2, 3, 4, 1 more into that same stitch. So a total of 5. And so there I've got my 5, almost like a cluster, right? And so I'm going to pull that loop a little higher, a little taller, so it doesn't completely slip out. Remove my hook, count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to insert my hook underneath that 5th one, both V's, or the full V, and then put the loop back on my hook, pull it, so there's some tension, and then slip stitch to form the bobble. And then we don't do any more stitches there or chains or anything. We go right into the next stitch, which is right here, to do a double crochet. So yarn over, insert, and I'm just going to do a regular double crochet there and then a regular one into the next one, because my spacing was 2 double crochets in between my bobbles, and then I've got room for 1 last bobble. So here we go. Yarn over, and in that same space I'm going to put 5 double crochets, complete double crochets. I'm going to speed up a little bit. That's 3, 4, 5, pull my loop, working loop up, count back 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put that back on my hook, pull it to make it a little tighter, and I kind of grab, at this point I like grab those double crochets and I slip stitch, and there's the popcorn. Okay, and then I've got space for like 1 or 2 more. Yep, 2 more double crochets here on the end. So that would finish my row, and then I would then double crochet, or sorry, chain 2, and in between each row of popcorn stitches, I did do a row of single crochet. If you can see that, because if we chain 2 and turn our work to work back, then we're looking at the wrong side. And if you want, of course, all your popcorn stitches to be on the right side, then you would have to do a row of single crochet or whatever stitch you want to do. Half double, doubles, trebles, all the way back across. So then when you would get to the end of this row, then you would turn your work again, and you would be forming your popcorn stitches when you're looking at the right side of your work, which means you see all the rest of the bobble stitches that you're doing on your project, okay? So that would be saying that the popcorn stitch is formed on the right side of your work. The side that's facing you with all of the other popcorn stitches, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And so, yep, and then you just continue and continue. I love them. I just think they're so much fun. Okay, so what is the difference between now this popcorn stitch and a bobble stitch? Not a lot, because that's why they get confused a lot of the time. And so, as you can see, this one is my swatch or my sampler is curling, but no biggie. You might notice something right now. It's going this way, and I'm not left-handed. And why is that? Well, because if we look here, the bobble stitch is formed from the wrong side. So I'm looking at the wrong side, and I always put that in quotation marks because that can be confusing. It's technically the back of your work. Okay, right side is the front of your work, wrong side is the back side. In my mind, that's how I keep them clear. So the bobble stitch is formed from the wrong side. So that's why I'm moving across this way along my row to form them. Okay, so again, I experimented, and in my first row I chained 20, 21 or so, and then I did I did a row of single crochet just to have like a foundation row, and then I did 3 single crochets, a bobble, and then a few more single crochets in between just to give them some space. And each bobble here has 5 double crochets in it. Each bobble here has 4. And as you can see, this one's a little taller. So you can do 6 too. 3, you could do 3, 4, 5, or 6, but 4 and 5 being the standard usually to get that just really, really knobby kind of look. So the bobble stitch, okay, is a little bit different. As I said, it is formed from the wrong side. So I did my bobbles and then I went back. I did a row of single crochet and then bobbles with just 4 in them. And then I have started with 5 again, 5 in each. So 3 single crochets, bobble, and a few more single crochets in between each one. So I have done 1, 2, 3, yep, 3 single crochets in between. So let's form a bobble stitch. Now, a bobble stitch is formed with incomplete double crochets, 5 incomplete double crochets, and then joined together. So let me show you how that works. So again, looking at the wrong side, we have a yarn over because we're doing some double crochets. But an incomplete double crochet means you just don't complete it. So you do that first step where you pull through 2, but then you leave those loops on your hook. You know, normally to finish the double crochet, I would yarn over and pull through those last 2 on my hook, but we're going to leave it incomplete. So we're going to yarn over again, and into that same stitch, you're going to make another incomplete double crochet, which means you just pull through those first 2 and stop. So that leaves now 3 loops on my hook, and we're going to be gathering loops on the hook. A yarn over again into the same space to make an incomplete double crochet, just pulling through those first 2. Now I've got 4 loops on my hook, and we have 1, 2, 3 incomplete double crochets in that same stitch. We need 2 more for 5. So another incomplete double crochet, just pulling through those first 2. Now I've got 5 loops on my hook. 1 more. You might think you're done, but 5 loops on the hook mean you only have 4 incomplete double crochets into your space. So you need 1 more. And this is where it gets a little, I've got super stretchy tube yarn. You might not, but get it in there. Pull through the first 2 only, so then you now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on your hook with 5 incomplete double crochets into the same stitch. Okay, Again, it looks like we're doing a cluster stitch, but it's a bobble. So we are going to now yarn over and pull through all 6 loops at the same time. Yeah, also reminiscent of a puff stitch. This is why they get confused a lot of the time. So here we go. Yarn over and pull through. And remember, I've taught you before to kind of lift your hook up a little bit, stretch it up a little bit. Make sure your hook is in the right position, not facing up like this, obviously, not too far down like this, but right there. And pull through all of them and kind of lift up as you come out. And then, again, in my mind, I want to chain 1 to close this, because these are just, you know, you just pulled through, but is it a complete stitch yet? No. You've got to push this back a little bit with your thumb and come down here to your next stitch and make a single crochet into this next stitch. And that's going to pull it all in and down and really form the bobble. So push with your thumb a little bit, look for that next stitch, and just make a single crochet. You push this out, and when you look at the other side, you will see the bobble. That's why we say it's formed from the wrong side. We're forming it here, but it's showing on this side because we pushed it out. Sorry, my yarn keeps getting in the way here. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm going to put, so that was 1 single crochet. I'm going to do like 2 more, just to give them some space. But you don't need to. You can put maybe 1 more or not any at all. They'll be really close together if you do, though. So if you want some spacing in between your bobbles, you're putting some stitches in between. Just make sure they're consistent. If you choose single crochets, then do single crochets each time, just so there's some uniformity there. Okay, so here we go again. So we're going to do 5 incomplete double crochets into the next stitch. So yarn over, just pull through those first 2 and leave those 2 loops on the hook. Again, first 2, leave it. Yarn over, let's do a third one. Pull through those 2 front ones, leave it. You should have 4 on your hook now. This is where they get a little crowded. Only pulling through those first 2 and 1 more. Really get it in there. Okay, so you should have 6 loops on your hook, 5 incomplete double crochets into the same stitch. Yarn over, pull through all of those on the hook. Look for your next stitch to do a single crochet. Push this out, back with your thumb a little bit to form the bobble, and make a single crochet pretty tightly, actually. You want that to be pretty tight. You don't want that single crochet. It's kind of like anchoring it, so you want it to be pretty tight. And then push with your finger so that the bobble forms on the other side. And this bobble just has like a gathered look, in my opinion. You can see the bars on the bottom and the top. It's a little bit different than a popcorn. It's not as bumpy. It's really pretty. I love them. Okay, so a few more single crochets would be for me to end my row, since I chose to do that. Now, you then would, similar with popcorn, chain 1 and do a row of single crochets all the way back, because we can't form a bobble on this side. We would be pushing it back to be on the other side, unless that's what your project calls for. But in this case, single crochets all the way back, or whatever stitch you prefer. Make it uniform all the way back, and then once you would get to this end, then you would be ready to form more of those bobbles from the wrong side again. Okay, so that is how to do the popcorn and the bobble stitch. Very similar, but different. And I hope that helps. When I was starting out crocheting, these two often got confused for me. So I thought I would show you that. If you've enjoyed this and would like to support my channel, of course, give it a like, subscribe to follow along for more. Leave a comment if you have used this stitch. I would love to know what projects you have completed with it. That's so fun. So thanks for crocheting along with me, and I'll see you next time.